Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Jalasi Mi'kma'ki, and welcome to Mi'kmaq territory. I'd also like to greet you in several of the other languages that are represented in this room. Bienvenue, Falcha, Salam Aleikum, Soswagat, Namaste, Zare, Sandezo, Swagatom, Akwaba, Sumole, Buha, Moye, Karibu, Sawane, Murishanji, Miyazi Michi, Akuleo, Jajiso, and welcome to the Fall Convocation 2014. As a courtesy to the graduates and to the speakers today, kindly ensure that all cell phones are switched off. Please remain standing for O Canada, which will be sung by Janet Bessignon in English, French, and Gaelic.
O Canada, terre de nos aïeux, ton front est sien, des fleurs en gloria. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, durach dachri, so nas leshi es maies ye, Dargir, so nas leshi es maies yen Dargir.
Father Andrew Gillies, chaplain of the university, will offer an invocation.
Dear God, may this graduation day be a celebration of your life within our faculty, staff, graduates, and honorary doctorate recipient, and honor their learning, their skills, and their hard work over their time here at St. Francis Xavier University. For the gifts of family and friends, memories and celebrations that have marked this time, we thank you. May your gentle guiding hand be upon all our graduates as they return home or to wherever their future brings them. Bless their lives from this day forward with whatsoever things are good and true. Help them to stay true to their dreams, to use wisely their gifts, to walk into the future with faith, hope, and great love, to bring peace to our world. You who live and reign forever and ever.
Please be seated. The President and Vice Chancellor of the University, Dr. Kent MacDonald, may it please you to address convocation for the first time.
Good afternoon, graduates. What a wonderful day this is. On behalf of the board chair, Mark Wallace, and all of our board of governors, let me first begin by extending a very warm StFX welcome to our honored guests, parents and family, returning alumni, and a very regal-looking stage party. Thank you for celebrating with us this afternoon. I'd also like to welcome all of those who are watching online via webcast today from many countries around the world. Graduates, a good part of your success today can be attributed to the exceptional faculty and staff that we have here at StFX. So this afternoon, I want to thank our faculty and our staff in a very public way. I want to thank them for their commitment to academic excellence, their commitment to your success, and their commitment to StFX University. A sincere thank you to all of our faculty and staff here today. And with those introductory comments, I welcome you to your Fall Convocation ceremony. And for everyone in the room, now it's time to welcome the most important people in this beautiful hall today, the graduating class of 2014. Graduates, there's no doubt that we are here for one reason, and that is to celebrate and recognize your success. However, it's fair to say that you did not make it here just on your own. There are parents and grandparents, sisters and brothers, husbands and wives, family and friends who have helped make your time at StFX possible. So graduates, perhaps we could take a moment to recognize your supporters, the people in the audience or online who helped in your journey here today. And before I go too much further, I do want to take a moment to recognize a group of students who have come many miles to be here this afternoon. Our international students and our StFX students who studied at the Coady International Institute. You could have chosen any university in the world to go to. You chose Canada. You could have chosen anywhere in Canada to go, and you chose StFX University. And for this, we do thank you. You must know that your presence on our campus made our lives more exciting and made the learning much more rich. Your presence here helped us overcome a distance from or strangeness to one another. We learned to recognize that people and ideas that at first seem foreign are in fact very similar to ours. Great learning never has ever come through a monologue. It always comes through a respectful and open dialogue, and you have taught us well, and we thank you. Now, I do feel it necessary to make one formal apology to our international students. You've come so far to travel and study with us in Nova Scotia. You spent here in Antigonish with us in the warm summers and then into the colder fall. And on behalf of all of us in this province, we apologize that we failed to deliver just one major Nova Scotia snowstorm while you were here. So that means that it may be your loss, but it's actually our celebration. But it has been a joy to have you with us here at StFX. Please come back to your second home soon. And for all of our graduates today, we know that this is not a simple journey to complete a university education. We know that there are graduates here today who have lost loved ones during their time with us. There are graduates who have had to overcome financial hardship or other personal challenges to be here today. We all have our own journey to this moment. This is a journey that started 28 years ago to a man that I spoke with last night, a student from India who tried to come to StFX 28 years ago to study at Coady. He never gave up on that dream, and here he is today. Lazarus, thank you. It's been a journey for 60 graduates who have come from across the country to complete their master's degree in education, to make learning in this country more effective. It's been a journey for 17 graduates of the Halifax leadership cohort You are an example of the good that can occur when an institution like StFX is committed to work alongside other public institutions like the Halifax School Board. And what a journey it has been for the fantastic 49. Those 49 students who have traveled from 20 different countries around the world to be with us. We know that you've left your families behind for a long time so that you can return to your countries and make them a better place. For all of our graduates here today, we know that it has been a great journey for you, and for that we honor your persistence and we honor your achievement here today. You showed us that it is possible to discuss and address issues of importance with civility, respect, and an open mind. You amazed your professors, and it has been a privilege to watch your journey here at StFX. And to all of you today, you officially join one of the most unique families from across the globe, the StFX family. It's a very special and unique club of just 50,000 members, people who have come before you. And now it's your responsibility today to carry the Xaverian spirit forward in the pursuit of social justice and the need to create a more just and equitable world. On behalf of the Board of Governors, our staff and faculty, graduates, we thank you and we recognize your achievement. You are a very impressive lot. But with all of this celebration today, we must remember that it is in fact a new day. We have a tendency to look back at events like this to celebrate past achievements. But the word convocation actually means to look forward. And so in looking forward, I'd like to leave you with one more piece of homework, your last assignment, if you will. As you sit here today, waiting for your name to be called, in the quietness of this moment, I would ask you to give some thought to why is it that you chose to come to StFX? For what reason were you really here? For what purpose? With all your hard work and sacrifice, ask yourself, what will you do now that you have earned this extraordinary gift of a StFX credential? Your homework is a simple one, and the good news, it's only you who will evaluate it. The assignment is to ask yourself now what it is that you can do to make lives around you a little bit better. With your life-changing experience here at StFX, how is it that you will now change someone else's life? And with your studies complete, I have just one piece of advice for you. I recommend that you leave here today, your time with us, to spend more time at your church or synagogue or mosque or temple or community center, to give more time of your time volunteering at a school, perhaps helping a child or raising important money for a special cause. Give more of your time today, now that you have much more free time, to make the world a different place. Perhaps you might give more of your time like that of our special guest today, Dr. James Orbinski, in my mind, a true Canadian hero, who you will hear more from shortly. Dr. Orbinski once stated that our grandest challenge of all is for us as human beings, as a collective species, to find our common story and to find ourselves in that story, to make ourselves in that story, and to choose ourselves in that story. You must now decide what is the next chapter of your own personal story. Our own Moses Coady once stated that life is the gradual realization of a man's possibilities for good. I believe that now, as a StFX graduate, you now have this great responsibility and possibility to do good. When we are all connected in the same story, we build a better and stronger community. When we paint ourselves into that story, we build communities that have zero tolerance for violence, particularly against women and children. And on this day of December 6th in Canada, it's a good day to remember that belief. This is a day of celebration, and graduates, as you leave this beautiful hall this afternoon, do so with confidence, knowing that StFX has prepared you well. But also leave here today knowing that we are relying on you to write your own story, and that you, each one of you, can become a beautiful part of the imperfect and unfinished story of humankind. Thank you, and congratulations to the class of 2014.
It's my pleasure to introduce members of the platform party that will not be introduced later in the program. Please withhold your applause until they've all been introduced. Honorable Peter MacKay, Minister of Justice and Attorney General. Honorable Randy Delory, MLA for Antigonish and Minister of the Environment and Minister of Gaelic Affairs. Councillor Sean Cameron, Town of Antigonish. Deputy Warden Owen McCarran, Municipality of the County of Antigonish. Mr. Kerry Prosper, Band Councillor for Buckinkeck First Nation. Mr. Tim Lang, Vice President, Advancement. Dr. John Gaventa, Vice President, International Development and Director, Coady International Institute. Mr. Bob Hale, Interim Head of Student Services. Mr. Andrew Beckett, Vice President of Finance and Administration. Ms. Susan Cameron, University Librarian. Ms. Tara Buxadis, Registrar and Director of Enrollment Planning. Dr. Charmaine McPherson, Chair of Faculty of Science. Dr. Tara Callahan, Chair, Faculty of Arts, and Chair, Department of Psychology. Dr. Lisa Lene Borden, Chair of Faculty of Education and Chair of the Department of Teacher Education. Dr. Leona English, Chair of the Department of Adult Education. Dr. Michael Haller, Chair, Department of Anthropology. Dr. Moira Galway, Chair, Department of Biology. Dr. Frank Cormier, Chair, Department of Engineering. Dr. Corey Rushton, Chair, Department of English. Dr. Doris Gillis, Chair, Human Nutrition. Dr. Steve Baldner, Chair, Department of Philosophy and Coordinator, Classical Studies. Dr. Robert Kennedy, Chair, Department of Religious Studies. Dr. Joanne Tompkins, Chair of Curriculum and Leadership. Mr. Bill Goggin, Director, Diploma in Adult Education. Ms. Patsy McDonald, Director, Distance Nursing Program. Ms. Janet McDonald, Manager, Admissions and Recruitment, Coady International Institute. Dr. David Garbery, Coordinator, Aquatic Resources. Ms. Suzanne Russell, Academic Advisor and Degree Compliance Coordinator. Dr. Emeka Ogiafor, Chair of the University Senate. I guess I should signal when I'm done. Sorry. The Academic Vice President and Provost, Dr. Leslie McLaren, will present convocation Dr. James Orbinski, upon whom the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa will be conferred.
Most Reverend Chancellor, I have the pleasure to present to Convocation James Jude Orbinski. Dr. Orbinski, Research Chair in Global Health at the Balsillie School of International Affairs and Professor of International Policy and Governance at Wilfrid Laurier University, is also a humanitarian practitioner and an advocate for global health care. Over the past 30 years, he has come to see health in its larger political and human context. Born in the United Kingdom, Dr. Orbinski came to Canada in 1968 and studied at Loyola High School and Dawson College in Montreal. After undergraduate studies at Trent University, he attended McMaster University, where he received his MD in 1990. He also completed a master's degree in international relations in 1998 at the University of Toronto. During his medical training, Dr. Orbinski lived in sub-Saharan Africa, where he studied HIV and AIDS in children. This experience led him to participate in the establishment of Médecins Sans Frontières Canada, or Doctors Without Borders. It also marked the beginning of his work helping to ease suffering in the world's poorest and most dangerous locations: Somalia during the civil war and famine of 1992-93, Kigali during the Rwandan genocide in 1994, and Zaire during the refugee crisis of 1996. Dr. Orbinski also worked with Doctors Without Borders in China, Sudan, Kenya, Kosovo, Russia, Thailand, and Peru, and served in Zambia and Brazil. During his tenure as president of Doctors Without Borders, he delivered the acceptance speech for the Nobel Peace Prize awarded to MSF in 1999. Dr. Orbinski continues to work for and to speak and write about human dignity and the need for humanitarian work in healthcare. In 2004, he co-founded Dignitas International, which is now supporting over 200,000 people with full treatment for HIV and is in the process of scaling up its primary healthcare treatment model to serve 3 million in Malawi. Dignitas has also established an extensive research capacity with over 40 major publications focused on clinical care and improving health systems in the developing world. In his book, An Imperfect Offering, Dr. Orbinski has written, "It may seem naively idealistic, but I know that as long as we can imagine a better tomorrow, we can work towards a better tomorrow. Such idealism has seeded the world with some of its greatest accomplishments and social institutions. I can change my own life and practices to make these ideals live in what I do in my life today." He is the recipient of many awards and honors, including Officer of the Order of Canada, the 2012 Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal, and the 2012 Award for Excellence given by the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. Most Reverend Chancellor, for challenging us to imagine a better tomorrow, to acknowledge the dignity of those we help, to affirm their right to act as agents of their own lives, and for his contributions to domestic and international human rights, I present to you James Jude Orbinski for the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Convocation will now be addressed by Dr. Orbinski.
Well, thank you very much, Professor McLaren, for that wonderful citation. and great introduction. And thank you, President MacDonald, and thank you, Chancellor Dunn, and former President Sean Riley, who's also here today, and to Mary Coyle and Janet Stark, who have been my wonderfully generous and kind hosts here at StFX over the last couple of days. And I must say that I'm delighted that I can now call StFX my new alma mater. When the president first called me and said to me that the university would like to give me an honorary doctorate from StFX, my first reaction was, wow, that's pretty cool. My second reaction was, wait a minute, a man my age with a student loan? I don't know if I actually could take that on. But I've always wanted to be an X-man, and my two children who are here today, Rohan, who's 11, and Tig, who's 9, I knew that they would be deeply impressed if I did manage to achieve the status of the superhero X-Men. So I thought, that's an interesting possibility. I knew they'd be very proud. And then, of course, there's the precious, as they call it, or the X-ring. And maybe I could become, if I were good enough, maybe I could become, in fact, a Lord of the Ring. And I thought, well, yes, this is actually looking pretty good. It's definitely the ring that I'm after. Now, we've been here, my boys and I have been here for a couple of days, and we have learned many things over the last 2 days about Antigonish, some of which include song, many of which I will not repeat for you. And we've also discovered what some call the 7 wonders of Antigonish. And there's the chowder of the Townhouse Pub, there's the 3D printer at the People's Library, there's the treasure of Anna de Coste at the Made in Nova Scotia store, there is Chris Chisholm, the caretaker at Crystal Cliffs, who showed us his tarantula, his snapping turtle, and his bear skull, and who gave my boys 2 real eagle feathers. There's also the truly beautiful sculpture titled Making Peace by Fen Martin here at the university. There is, of course, the Coady Institute, and then finally, and most importantly, there is StFX itself. And we've learned, too, that Antigonish is intensely local, and that it is also the place to learn how to be genuinely global in thinking and in service. Now, I have to say what a full and genuine honor it is for me to share this day with you, my fellow StFX graduates. You are well prepared from one of the best and finest academic institutions in Canada, and the one that is consistently ranked as the best undergraduate university in the country. And today we're standing on the shoulders of generations before us, and I'm not referring to graduates. I'm actually referring to the people of Antigonish and Nova Scotia. What is now this university, a national treasure with a global impact, StFX emerged from and was funded by the community of mothers and fathers who gave into their church collection plates and who were deeply committed and well beyond their financial means to the empowerment and to the betterment of their children through education. Now, this university itself has a full and abiding commitment to excellence, and its orientation towards equality is best articulated in the Xavier Pledge, which now all graduates have taken, and that each student must make. And this pledge is to a life of thought and of service in community. And this pledge holds true whether you are today proud graduates with a Master's of Science degree, with a Master's of Education, with a Master's of Adult Education, or whether you are a graduate with a diploma in ministry, in adult education, or, of course, a diploma in leadership from the Coady Institute. The Coady, as it's known, grew from the Antigonish movement, which itself originated in 1928 with the establishment of the Extension Department of StFX University, and with Reverend Moses Coady as the director. The university, born in community and supported by community, made a commitment to community. And today it's not only Antigonish that Nova Scotia that needs commitment to community. Ours is a very deeply imperfect world, and it is particularly so in this second decade of the 21st century. We are in the midst of converging global crises in climate, in food, in fuel, in economy, and most importantly, in governance. We've moved from a bipolar world as it existed during the Cold War to well beyond the world of the American hyperpower, and we are now firmly in a multipolar world, and that is particularly marked with the new aggression of Mr. Putin towards the Ukraine, and it's particularly marked with the new forms of extreme violence in the Middle East as war has erupted across the region. Each of these crises have both local and global causes. Each of these are interdependent, and as we know all too clearly, they have highly contagious global consequences. We are at a moment in our human story where we must squarely face the unavoidable complexity, interdependency, and fragility of our human condition. We have become our own geological epoch, now called the Anthropocene. So profound is the impact of our presence on this planet over the last 250 years. We have moved from a population of about 1 billion in the 1800s to a population today of 7 billion. In 25 short years, that population will be beyond 9.6 billion. Our ecological impact is beyond the carrying capacity of this planet. We are at a point where human pressures on the planet are at risk of triggering abrupt and irreversible changes with potentially catastrophic outcomes for human societies. We have already crossed 3 of 9 planetary boundaries, or tipping points, and we risk triggering abrupt environmental change within continental and planetary biospheric systems. We must recognize that our global context has fundamentally changed. The microbiologist Louis Pasteur said some 150 years ago that the microbe is nothing, it's terrain everything. The implications of this rapidly changing terrain for human, for animal, and for planetary health are staggering, to say the least. Now, when the Antigonish movement started in 1928, the StFX faculty, then uniquely priest scholars, and its sisters of St. Martha, were highly pragmatic idealists. They understood the power of knowledge married with action and were unequivocally, relentlessly, and unashamedly committed to service and to social justice. The Coady Institute emerged in very particular political and social and spiritual circumstances, and with very particular values and moral choices. It was the desperation, the poverty, and the egregious inequity of the Great Depression. And like much of the world, Nova Scotia, and most especially rural Nova Scotia, was suffering in a manner that is nearly incomprehensible today. The Antigonish movement soon attracted widespread attention from around the world. Visitors flocked to this region to witness ordinary people, fishermen, farmers, and industrial workers who organized and established their own enterprises, from fish processing to credit unions to cooperative stores. Now, my own work over the last 25 years has meant practical, idealistic, but highly practical medical humanitarian efforts aimed at the relief of suffering while supporting people's rights to be agents in their own destiny. I have long believed that our greatest wealth as human beings is the degree to which we can be more humane, more fair, and more just to each other. And we are not always humane, fair, and just to each other. Now, in Rwanda, in 1994, I was Médecins Sans Frontières, or Doctors Without Borders, head of mission in Kigali, which is the country's capital city. And it was a place with a very particular politics, and it was the criminal politics of genocide. It was a brutal, horrible time, and it was a place of rational and state-planned evil. Over 1 million people, virtually all of them Tutsis, were butchered to death in 14 short weeks. And throughout the country, parents often paid to have their own children shot in open pit latrines rather than see them murdered by being hacked to death with a machete. And bodies literally filled the streets of the capital city, and the gutters alongside the hospital that we managed to keep open, those gutters literally ran red with human blood. And one night, after many long hours of surgery, a young girl of about 9 told me how she escaped murder at the hands of the killing squads. And through an interpreter, the little girl told me how she, quote, cried without noise, hidden in the latrine, and how she watched her parents being killed. Now, how do you have hope in the face of genocide? How do you pursue pragmatic idealism? How do you see possibility? Well, it doesn't lie in naive utopian dreams. Now, Hannah Arendt was one of the greatest political philosophers of the 20th century. She was a Jew who, as a young woman, escaped the Nazi Reich in Germany to France, and then from a Nazi labor camp in France, she escaped to New York. As an academic, an intellectual in New York, Hannah Arendt dedicated her entire life to trying to understand the origins of political totalitarianism and the essential nature of politics and action as an antidote to the reemergence of this totalitarianism. And she argued that the first political act is not to claim one's rights, nor to claim protection under a political constitution. These are important, but these are not the first and most fundamental of political actions. She argued that the first political act, in fact, was very simple, and it is simply to speak to each other. And in Arendt's conception, speaking necessarily implies an equal willingness to listen. And both listening and speaking to each other must be followed by action or doing for each other. Now, for the Rwandan genocide, in the years that followed, civil society organizations came together, organized, and met in church basements, in university campuses like this, and in systematic meeting places internationally to listen to each other, to understand what was possible in terms of the pursuit of justice around genocide, not simply in Rwanda, but also in the former Yugoslavia, and also as it had happened following World War II in Cambodia and in Uganda. And in the process of speaking and listening, those civil society organizations came to a full understanding of what was possible in terms of the creation of the International Criminal Court. They sought out the best minds legally, the best minds politically, the best actors in terms of organization, and they also sought out the politicians who could no longer ignore the voices and the choices of citizens from around the world. In 2001, only a few short years after the genocide in Rwanda, for the first time in human history, the International Criminal Court was created. More than 180 nations are signatories to the statutes of the International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court has indicted and has brought to justice many heads of state and many war criminals since its formation in 2001. It is certainly an imperfect institution, and it is certainly true that the United States, that Russia, that China, and that India are not yet signatories to the statutes of the International Criminal Court. But it is a court that now stands, and it is now true for the first time in human history that no sitting head of state, no single human being can claim to be above the law. It was human beings who created the International Criminal Court in response to the reality of war crimes, to crimes against humanity, and to genocide. Now, a few months ago, I was back in Malawi with Dignitas International, which is an organization that I co-founded in 2004. And it's focused on creating, as you heard earlier, alternative models of healthcare for AIDS, for tuberculosis, and for other primary healthcare priority diseases. And it uses health systems and is a community-based approach to the delivery of care in the developing world. And we started this organization from inside University of Toronto, and we started it with a focus on the provision of care for women and the provision of care for children living with HIV and tuberculosis in Malawi. In Malawi, 10 years ago, 90% of hospital admissions were for people who were HIV positive. Malawi is has a population of 15 million people. And in that population, it has a mere 265 doctors. Ontario, the province where I live, has a similar population of 15 million and has more than 27,500 doctors. In Malawi, more than 10% of the population were HIV positive when we started the organization. Now, how do you confront an epidemic where 10% of your population is HIV positive and where you have less than 265 doctors? You do so by tackling the problem with the resources that you have and in the reality that you find yourself in. And so what we did was we worked with community in Malawi and with the Ministry of Health to develop highly simplified treatment algorithms that are scientifically accurate and to develop training and treatment programs for healthcare workers who have less than a grade 9 education. And as you know, just because you're not educated doesn't mean you're not smart. With the right tools and with the right training, it is possible to diagnose, to manage, and to treat HIV, TB, and a whole range of primary healthcare problems. Today, 10 years later, we now have 200,000 people on full treatment for HIV in the developing world, and we treat more than 20,000 patients a year for tuberculosis. We have trained more than 500 healthcare workers and trained 500 healthcare workers every single year in Malawi. And we have research partnerships with the University of Cape Town, with the University of Malawi, with the Harvard University, with University of Toronto, and with UBC. What we've learned, again, is that by bringing the right people together, by studying a problem carefully and systematically, and by pursuing pragmatic, idealistically inspired objectives, it is possible to address major issues. We are also now, today, taking what we've learned in Malawi and we are applying it to Canada. We're working with Cree Aboriginal communities, with the Northern Ontario School of Medicine, and with the University of Toronto, and with the Ontario Ministry of Health to develop community-based care programs for remote and rural Aboriginal communities in Northern Ontario. Now, elsewhere on the African continent, the 2011 drought and famine in East Africa meant that 13 million people needed food assistance. And that drought and famine, that most people here in Canada haven't even heard of, that famine left 500,000 people dead. And the drought has been directly attributed to the effects of climate change. A mere 10 years from now, crop yields in some parts of Africa are expected to drop by 50%, and water stress could affect as many as 250 million Africans. Exactly the same process is true for Central America and for Southeast Asia. Here in North America, despite the best efforts of our current government to deny the reality of climate change, here in North America, West Nile virus, never seen before the year 2000, has infected more than 21,000 people and has killed more than 800 people in the United States and in Canada. Our government has also warned that our country might eventually experience yellow fever and malaria. We also know that Lyme disease has moved north up through the United States, and that dengue fever is following. All of these are because of climate change. Indeed, The Lancet, the world's most reputable medical journal, has recognized that climate change is the greatest global health threat of the 21st century. We come full circle, ladies and gentlemen, when we realize that it is climate change today that drives competition for access to water and to arable land in Darfur, Sudan, and that leads today to war crimes, to crimes against humanity, to the indictment of Mr. Omar al-Bashir for genocide by the International Criminal Court, and to the reality of slow-motion genocide in Darfur. Now, much as we might hope, we know that good planets, even a bit damaged, are hard to find. There's no escape from our biosphere. It's the only place we live. And yet we are changing it so that it is unlivable for many, and especially for those who are poorest and already most marginalized. And there is no escape from each other. I know that if my children are to live free and are to live just and are to live fair lives, then all children everywhere must also have the same opportunity to live free, to live just, and to live fair lives. As humans, we need a new way of seeing, and from it, a new way of being. Not only are we the proverbial frog in the cooking pot, but we're also turning up the heat. While all is nature, even we humans, it's only humans that are knowingly changing, literally, the nature of nature. I said a few moments ago that if we are to succeed in this, our 21st century, we need wisdom, we need a new and genuine humility, and the courage to examine new thinking and new approaches to our place and our roles in our ecosphere. We need a new way of seeing ourselves in relation to each other, to other life forms, and most especially to our place in the biosphere. And this has much to do with humility, and that recognizes the other and sees the sameness of self and the difference to self in the other. You've had a great beginning here at StFX, in this community of Antigonish. You've had an intensely local experience, and you've acquired the skills for global impact. And on this graduation day, your community is bigger, your place in it is bigger, and your responsibility in it is bigger. Go out and literally shape and change the world. But do not, please, fall sway to the contemporary delusion that you can do it alone. Those who try easily become tyrants. You do change the world through thought and through service, and you do it by speaking, by listening, and by doing, and always in, always from, and always with community. I'm delighted to be part of StFX and my new community, and to actually have the opportunity to wear the ring. And congratulations to each and to all of you today. Thank you.
Dr. Peter Poole, Department of Physics, will present convocation Mr. Jamie Powell from the Department of Physics, the recipient of the annual Outreach Award.
Most Reverend Chancellor, I wish to present to you the winner of the StFX Outreach Award for 2014, Mr. Jamie Powell. Jamie Powell is a senior laboratory instructor in the physics department and has ably served StFX since 1991. However, above and beyond his teaching responsibilities, Jamie has demonstrated a sustained and passionate commitment to outreach, offering his time and energy to provide science education and outreach experiences to schools, community groups, and the general public throughout eastern Nova Scotia. His particular passion is astronomy. The wonders of the night sky are a common source of inspiration for young people and often lead to a lifelong connection to math and science. Jamie has for decades been a leader in bringing astronomy to our community, providing countless telescope observing sessions and presentations about the heavens to the general public. More recently, Jamie and his co-author, Shah Razul, now contribute a regular column on events in the night sky, syndicated to 7 newspapers and more than 250,000 readers across Nova Scotia. Working with other outreach leaders from the physics department, notably Doug Hunter and Michael Steinitz, Jamie has been a generous volunteer, providing science education opportunities to community organizations and events such as Mayfest, Air Cadets, Nova Scotia Young Naturalists Club, and the St. Mary's River Association. He has also partnered with local musicians to bridge the arts and sciences through his contributions to performances at such events as Antigonish. One of Jamie's nominators wrote, "Providing a creative learning environment for all is of the utmost importance to Jamie. He engages every participant, young and old. His amazing and interactive presentations about the mysteries of the night sky, the power of the sun, or making a homemade telescope always lead to lots of questions, and Jamie takes his time to answer every one with focus and detail. Our club is made up of families, from infants to adults, and regardless of the situation, and with a smile on his face, his demeanor never skips a beat, always keeping a level head, no matter what the circumstances. Through his belief in community and in bringing students and families together through his love of science education, he has provided hours of mentorship to our club, always ensuring inclusion for all. Most Reverend Chancellor, for his years of commitment to science outreach, for his service to our citizens and community organizations, and for nurturing the scientific curiosity of young and old alike, I am most pleased to present to you Mr. Jamie Powell for the St. Francis Xavier University Outreach Award.
Dr. Ann Bigelow, Coordinator of Service Learning and Professor in the Department of Psychology, will present to Convocation the Maritimes-Guatemala Breaking the Silence Network, the recipient of the Community Partner Recognition Award. Accepting this award will be Catherine Anderson, a founder of the Maritimes-Guatemala Breaking the Silence Network.
Most Reverend Chancellor, I wish to present to you the winner of the StFX Community Partner Recognition Award for 2014, Maritimes-Guatemala Breaking the Silence Network. Breaking the Silence is a voluntary network of people in the Maritimes who began to organize in 1989 to support the efforts of Guatemalans struggling for political, social, and economic justice. Recognizing that injustice is connected to structural inequalities, both within and between countries, Breaking the Silence is committed to supporting structural transformation, both in Guatemala and in Canada, by building long-term relationships based on solidarity and mutuality. As a community of people who share this commitment to solidarity, they undertake advocacy and lobbying, organize delegations, send interns, volunteers, and human rights accompaniers, promote fairly traded coffee, and raise awareness within our own communities through speaking tours by Guatemalan leaders and other political campaigns. Since its inception, Breaking the Silence has partnered with StFX to enhance educational experiences of thousands of students and staff by facilitating numerous events and guest speakers for academic departments, the Coady Institute, and the local public. Breaking the Silence has been a critical partner for the Immersion Service Learning Program trip to Guatemala, providing excellent pre-trip support and around-the-clock support for the duration of the trip on the ground. Breaking the Silence has also engaged students beyond the presentations and immersion trip by employing students as interns and engaging them as volunteers, encouraging them to advocate for change locally and abroad. In 2007, Breaking the Silence partner, Jesus Teku, was recognized for his contributions to StFX with an honorary degree. Almost without exception, students and faculty describe their interactions with Breaking the Silence as life-changing, be that through the immersion trip or through professional engagement. One student described her experience with Breaking the Silence as such: "I am beyond thankful for this opportunity because it has shifted my career goals and provided me with more learning than I ever could have imagined. Working with Breaking the Silence has supplemented my learning from Guatemala by demonstrating to me the importance of community engagement and active citizenship. Most Reverend Chancellor, for their commitment to student learning, for their support of the StFX Service Learning Program, and their ability to inspire students to better the lives of others, I am most pleased to present to you Maritimes-Guatemala Breaking the Silence Network for the St. Francis Xavier University Community Partner Recognition Award.
All candidates listed in the program are receiving those degrees or diplomas ascribed to them. Some, however, cannot be present for convocation. They will receive their degrees in absentia. Dr. Leslie McLaren, Chair of Graduate Studies, will now present to the Chancellor the candidates for graduate degrees. The audience is asked to withhold applause until all candidates have been presented.
Mashari Mohammed Al-Jahani, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Fatiha Kanam Bapi from Bangladesh. Yuan Lin from Toronto, Ontario. Caitlin Elizabeth Ann McNeil, Howie Center, Nova Scotia. Those were the recipients of the Master of Science degree. Receiving their Master of Education degrees today, Lisa Laura Banks, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Gwendolyn Joy Burt, Eastern Passage, Nova Scotia. Michelle Ann Chisholm, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Tracy Lynn Chopek, River Ryan, Nova Scotia. Allison Joy Colford, Westmount, Nova Scotia. Marcia Ann Costello, Coleman, PEI. Karen L. Day, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Marilyn Ann Delaney, Sydney, Nova Scotia. Joseph Francis Dwaron, Pomcat, Nova Scotia. Karen Ann Dwaron, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Lynn Ann Doyle, Sackville, Nova Scotia. Michael James Faulkner, Truro, Nova Scotia. Victor Conrad Fraser, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Janice Margaret Garden, Louisdale, Nova Scotia. Daniel Peter Guilfoy, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Clarissa Margaret Grover, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Karen Darcel Hudson, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Sherry Ann Julian, Indian Brook, Nova Scotia. Jamie Campbell Kavanaugh, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Michelle Darlene Kavanaugh, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Elaine Kelly, New York, New York. Sounds like a film. Megan Elizabeth Kirby, Norris Arm, Newfoundland. Lacey Hosanna Lajeunesse, Oshawa, Ontario. Courtney Ann McDonald, Montreal, Quebec. Patricia Teresa McDonald, Toronto, Ontario. Charlotte Ann McKeegan, Middle Sackville, Nova Scotia. Lindsay Frances McClellan McPhee, Timberlea, Nova Scotia. Graham Robert McLeod, Pictou, Nova Scotia. Michelle Marie McCarron, New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. Sonia Lee O'Sullivan, Waverley, Nova Scotia. Lady Francisca Penny, Linwood, Nova Scotia. Kimberly Ann Picot, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Nora Catherine Rogers, United Arab Emirates. Melanie Ann Ross Breen, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Christine Claire Scallion, Wentworth, Nova Scotia. Jennifer Lynn Shepherd Kierstead, Upper Sackville, Nova Scotia. Juanita Maria Stranges Mavie, Sydney River, Nova Scotia. Stacy Dawn Thorburn, Liverpool, Nova Scotia. Jenny Valentum, Toronto, Ontario. Jeremy Courtney Walker, New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. Mary Georgina Weber Cook, New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. Seth Sue-Ann White, Lingen, Nova Scotia. And Derek Richard Winchester, Spring Hill, Nova Scotia. Receiving their Masters in Adult Education, Marcia Julie Arnberg, Church Point, Nova Scotia. Andrew Robert Atkins, Prince Albert, Ontario. Father Fernando Aspires from China, also receiving the John Dobson Award. Susan Irene Baudreau Hartwell, Kendall, Ontario. Heather Lynn Cardy, Kitchener, Ontario. Ibrahim Chotani, Toronto, Ontario. Amanda Joy Greenham, Montreal, Quebec. Tina Shirley Kelly, Beaverbank, Nova Scotia. Glenn James McPhail, Lombardy, Ontario. Catherine Patricia McNeil, Whitehorse, Yukon Territory. William Colby Milne, Coldbrook, Nova Scotia. Brian Andrew Peters, Marguerite Centre, Nova Scotia. Glenn Curtis Shoemaker, Shakespeare, Ontario. That concludes the Master of Adult Education.
Dr. Janice Landry, Interim Dean of Education, Dr. Richard Nemesvari, Dean of Arts, Dr. Tim Hines, Dean of Business, and Dr. Joanne Whitty Rogers, Interim Director, School of Nursing, will present to the Chancellor the candidates for undergraduate degrees and diplomas in their respective faculties, and diplomas in adult education and diplomas in ministry. Once again, please withhold your applause until everyone is done. Thanks.
Most Reverend Chancellor, for the Bachelor of Education, Jacinda Michelle Cunningham, Sydney, Nova Scotia. Otis William Day, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Tiffany Noel Gould, Waikagama, Nova Scotia. Jasmine Rose Johnson, Millbrook First Nation.
Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with Major, I present to you Rachel Lynn Brady, Balderson, Ontario. Colleen Mary Briand, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Boone Lawn, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Lauren Michelle Cutt, Calgary, Alberta. Ian Walter Douglas, Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia. Richard Bennett Gove, Calgary, Alberta. Sterling August Holtschneider, Ottawa, Ontario. Matthew Patrick Howard, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Jordan James Norman Halton, Kingston, Ontario. Sarah Evelyn Johnston, Port Hastings, Nova Scotia. Bethany Margaret Killen, Digby, Nova Scotia. Rebecca M. Leslie, Dieppe, New Brunswick. Jenna Lace McDonald, West Arishat, Nova Scotia. Carolyn Jean Marie McMillan, Big Pond, Nova Scotia. Daniel Michael McLeish, Milton, Ontario. Adele Caitlin Lee McLeod, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Nancy Darlene Roper, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with Joint Major, I present to you Susan P. Agobia, Ottawa, Ontario. Agwata Rachel Osibori, Kenya. Heather Elizabeth Eakins, Bedford, Nova Scotia. William Perry Lefort, Elginburg, Ontario. Amanda Lee Millard, Spring Hill, Nova Scotia. And Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with First Class Honors, Sydney Patricia Lee Laughlin, St. Albans, Vermont.
Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Business Administration, I present Shara Ann Bars, New Harbor, Nova Scotia. Madison Ann Darcy, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Adam John Ivich, Burlington, Ontario. D. Lay, China. Devin Coady McGilvery, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Mary Jane McDonald, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Alan Patrick Minasian, Mulgrave, Nova Scotia. Panjani Natalie Nyangulu, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Edward Joseph Rogan, Stittsville, Ontario. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Information Systems, I present David Andrew Gray, Westville, Nova Scotia. Adrian David Nickerson, New Harbor, Nova Scotia.
Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Science with Major, I present to you Nicholas London Davidson, Riverview, New Brunswick. Coady James Webb, Simone Sound, British Columbia. For the degree Bachelor of Science with Major with Distinction, Brennan Michael Ray, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. For the degree Bachelor of Science with Honors, Danielle Alexander McKenzie, Tatamagouche, Nova Scotia. For the degree Bachelor of Science in Nursing, Jillian Cudmore, Wolfville, Nova Scotia. Amy Ellen DeBay, Gatsbrook, Nova Scotia. Allison Kathleen Elmore, Dieppe, New Brunswick. Catherine Elizabeth Gillis, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Elliot Mary Brenna O'Brien, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Allison Sawyer, St. Stephen, New Brunswick. For the degree Bachelor of Science in Nursing with Distinction, Chantal Marie Rachel Bedard, Keene, New Hampshire. Megan Elizabeth Boudreau, Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. Stacy Nadine Brigman, Sarnia, Ontario. Shelby Alexander Nicole Buchanan Burton, Ingonish, Nova Scotia. Amy Churchyard, Kingston, Ontario. Claire Deering, Dominion, Nova Scotia. Kelly Lynn DeCoste, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Alana Renee DeVoe, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Marley Cheryl Giddings, Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. Amber Johanna Johnson, Summerside, Prince Edward Island. Jennifer Ann Kitston, Wellington, Nova Scotia. Monique Marie Landry, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Ruth Ann Lenarduzzi, Orleans, Ontario. Carly Lee Jenna Lively, Truro, Nova Scotia. Tracy Jo McFarlane, Inverness, Nova Scotia. Poppy Irene McPhee, Ottawa, Ontario. Sabrina Mascarin, Burlington, Ontario. Leslie Nicole Mascal, Hannon, Ontario. Jenna Lee McLanders, Sydney, Nova Scotia. Elizabeth Teresa Rankin, Mabou, Nova Scotia. Andrea Giselle Teasdale, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Sarah Marie Toussaint, Grengrave, Nova Scotia. For the degree Bachelor of Science in Nursing with Advanced Major with Distinction, Caitlin Christine Kroll, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Heather Christine Parsons, Bay Roberts, Newfoundland. For the degree Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition, Raynell Lynn McMaster, Antigonish, Nova Scotia. For the degree Bachelor of Science in Human Kinetics, Stephanie Elizabeth McCarville, Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. Matthew Merkley, Ottawa, Ontario. Rebecca Catherine Traversac, Guelph, Ontario. For the degree Bachelor of Arts in Human Kinetics, Mercedes Gail Crawford, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Stephanie Lynn Roy, Moncton, New Brunswick. For the Diploma in Engineering, Lauren Burke Laidlaw, Canada, Ontario. For the Diploma in Integrated Dietetic Internship, Amy Lee Bond, Antigonish, Nova Scotia.
Most Reverend Chancellor, for the Diploma in Adult Education, Kelly Maureen Dallier, Ottawa, Ontario. Marjorie Sue Jansen, Carstairs, Alberta. Judy E. Clank, Regina, Saskatchewan. Taryn Lynn True, Regina,
Most Reverend Chancellor, for the Diploma in Ministry, I present to you Anne-Marie Gipp, and this degree is awarded posthumously. Bernice Margaret Hogan, Brockville, Ontario. Michelle Maikuda, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Dale Webster, Summerland, British Columbia. And Patricia Wicks, Richmond, British Columbia.
Ms. Colleen Cameron, coordinator of the Diploma program at the Coady International Institute, will present to the Chancellor the candidates for the Diploma in Development Leadership. The audience is again asked to withhold applause until the end.
Most Reverend Chancellor, it is my great privilege and honor to present to you the Diploma in Development Leadership. Amar Bahadur Air, Nepal. MD Nurel Alam, Bangladesh. Anaba Hagar Alamfis, Ghana. Maunyo Amanyawu, Ghana. Solomon Kwame Anansi, Ghana. Kajangju Jocelyn Aziza, Congo. Patrick Newton Bondo, South Africa. Abu Augustus Brima, Sierra Leone. Charity Asibi Bukari, Ghana. Prakash Shetri, Nepal. Florence Mwaba Chisendi, Zambia. Brother Jose Daniel, India. Father Deepak Oswald D'Souza, India. Father Justin Anton D'Souza, India. Blondell Yunella Dyer Richardson, Antigua and Barbuda. Michael Olusesi Ibifoni, Nigeria. Imad Shaban Abdel Alem Iman, Egypt. Athea Denise Francis, Antigua Barbuda. Mohammed Azab Gouda, Egypt. Eunice Ngwingi Hale, Cameroon. Gail A. Henry Lewis, Antigua Barbuda. Kate Ijoma Ibusani, Nigeria. Ria Vanetta Jeffrey, Antigua Barbuda. Philomena Joseph, India. Sister Teresa Joseph, India. Beatrice Belinda Kabagani, Uganda. Yvette Sia Kamadada, Sierra Leone. Mavutu EJ Kolowa, Malawi. Francis Mathusis Kikola, Kenya. Emmanuel Ole Kilili, Tanzania. Ibrahima MBS Kinte, Gambia. Palash Kumar Kundu, Bangladesh. Father Arun Senil Lobo, OCD, India. Pilot Matembo, Botswana. Sister Flavia Wilma Matthias, India. Kunwari Minj, India. Victoria Husseini Nagubi Morkos, Egypt. Chrissy Mupuchi, Zambia. Agwenja Patience Igowani, Cameroon. Matuluko Ibrahim Ojuboyi, Nigeria. Thomas Adua Kukwero, Ghana. Erna Marguerite Rodriguez, Haiti. Joseph Rosario, Bangladesh. Father Lawrence Selvaraj, India. Pallavi Siswal, India. Castro Singalangali, Zambia. Bartholomew Telul, Belize. Lazarus Udaya Kumar, India. Yunus Zakaria, Ghana.
Just to quote Mama Char from last night, Aiko, to all the graduates. The Chancellor, Most Reverend Brian Dunn, will confer the degrees and diplomas given.
By the authority vested in me as Chancellor of the University, and in accordance with the recommendation of its academic faculties, I hereby admit you to the degrees and diplomas to which you have qualified, with all the rights, honors, and privileges thereunto appertaining.
On behalf of the graduating class, Mr. Abu Augustus Brima will address convocation.
Most Reverend Chancellor, Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, fellow graduates, good afternoon to you all. I am Abu Augustus Brima. I am working from Network Movement for Justice and Development in Sierra Leone. I feel greatly honored and especially privileged to be chosen to speak on behalf of the 2014 fall graduating class of St. Francis Xavier University and Coady International Institute. In an event like this, each one of us will feel that we have greatly achieved and we have been successful and we are very important. Indeed, we are all important, very special, and created in the image and likeness of God. And in the words of Moses Coady, to be masters of our own destiny. That destiny is being shaped today as we transit back into the theater of Action Society. Today, we are inducted into the X family of great women and men as we receive diplomas and degrees in the different fields of study. Beyond the certificates we receive today is the life skills, the lessons in leadership and relationships that we have cultivated. We are now a part of the proud heritage of selfless service, hard work, commitment, and diligence, which places on each of us the highest responsibility of being good ambassadors of this institution. We have all worked so hard to make it this far. But whose hard work is this? Is it the hard work of our parents, relatives, or friends who have sacrificed and supported us all this way? Or is it that of our benefactors who have contributed to give us the chance to better our lives? Or is it the Antigonish people who have created a friendly and welcoming environment to keep us at ease, make us feel at home, and even overlook our excesses? Or is it the St. Francis Xavier University and the Coady Institute and their personnel who made it a duty to see that we remain focused, disciplined, challenged, and committed so that we do not disappoint all the chain of supporters in our life? Or do we just simply thank God for his unending mercies in the midst of the global and domestic crises people across the globe are going through? Consider the case of Sierra Leone, where my colleague Yvette Siakamanda and myself are coming from. That small West African country of about 6 million people has been engulfed by the Ebola virus, together with neighboring Guinea and Liberia, since March this year. And to date, in Sierra Leone, about over 7,400 people have already been affected, with over 1,585 deaths, including 12 medical doctors, and there's still no end in sight. But I'm sure there are many other disasters across the world, in many of your own countries today, which you and I have got to face as we leave this place. So what does it really mean to become a graduate? What can we actually lay claim to after being here for 5 months or 4 years that we bear on our situations back home? I'll give you an indication of what I have seen that I consider my own learnings, and I hope that it will resonate with you. Here in Antigonish, I have learned how a community and a learning institution are like body and soul. The community is so loyal, so committed, and so involved in the work of the university that they are so proud of it. I have also learned that the world in which we find ourselves is so full of problems that the only prism we see is the prism of problems. We analyze everything from problem angle. And therefore, it becomes the responsibility of experts to solve that. But at Coady, I have learned that the people are more important, and that the communities are the ones that have the answers to the problems. And so the ABCD, we call it, asset-based community development, gives premium to the knowledge, the experiences, and assets that are available so that people use what they have to get what they want. I have also learned that in all of our development work, in all that we do, we need to work with other people. Partnerships, creating partnerships with government, partnerships with other civil society organizations, with local communities, with other international donors, even with corporate entities. The way we partner has a lot of bearing on how much we achieve or we do not achieve, or how much we lose ground and how much we remain to be in our problems. I am sure the problems that we are encountering in our countries today are part of the reason, the kind of partnerships we have had with the rest of the world. I have also learned that in everything that we do and how we do it depends to a large extent on the kind of leadership that we have. An inspired and visionary leader uses the knowledge and wisdom and capacities of the people around them. That leader works with people in a collective manner so that everyone is a leader. Lack of that leadership has led us to the confusion and the problems that we encounter today. I have also learned that while we are here, in the course of our 5 months, and for others, 4 years, Coady International Institute has actually become the window of the international world, of the globe. And people come from all over the world. And we have learned to work together as a community to live with tolerance and in appreciation. The knowledge and experiences from others has enriched all of us. So we are leaving this place with some knowledge of the rest of the world. We are no longer complete strangers in any part of the world. But I have also learned that diversity has its limits. And our great Morrison has taught us that, has taught me that. That in spite of our diversities, our cultures, and our different ways of doing things and eating and the type of food, we have to learn to eat what is available here. Fellow graduates, considering the chain of supporters to our education and life here at StFX, we have a moral responsibility to share and use the knowledge, wisdom, and skills gained during our study here at StFX with humility. I say with humility because for each of us, it is a privilege to come and study here, as not everybody can do. For many people in our communities, even the idea of stepping into a university is too remote a reality. We should remain conscious of the fact that there are many people like us in our communities who do not have and may never have any access to formal education. We therefore have an important responsibility to reach out to them, whoever they are and wherever they may be, to test with courage the learning experiences and thinking capacities we have been equipped with to contribute to the transformation of society. By sharing with them that power, that knowledge, and the skills to grow and develop together, we show them that we from StFX do care. But we should not forget that what we have learned here is the wisdom and patience to unlearn. That is, to put aside our pride and arrogance so that we can learn from our people, the true actors of change, and society, so that we can understand how best to contribute to this struggle to make our communities and society just, equitable, and conflict-free. Ladies and gentlemen, before we step out of this home away from home environment, let me, as the convocation speaker on behalf of my colleagues at Coady, sincerely thank all professors, facilitators, and the staff of StFX Coady for their dedication and commitment. I also wish to thank StFX University for this magnificent learning environment and the Antigonish community for their warmth and friendly welcome. I'm sure my colleagues and I will forever be proud to be members of the Xaverian family. I call on each one of us to transcend the rhetoric of development, reflect on how to use the adult education methodologies and approaches to work closely with our people to bring social justice to all, a demand that StFX makes on all their proud earners and recipients of the X-pins and rings. I will remiss in my responsibility if I fail to recognize and express gratitude for the opportunity I had to meet wonderful people from all over the world. Community and religious leaders, students, government workers, and development practitioners who have such tremendous experience, beautiful thoughts, and inspiring stories to share. To all of you comrades, please remember the time we spent together. And remember, as Xaverians and propagators of the Antigonish movement, we have a common mission to work for the attainment of the good and abundant life for everyone. And finally, let me wish everyone the courage to live a life reflective of the learning that we have got here. Congratulations all, and thank you.
We will now hear from the Director of Alumni Affairs, Miss Mary Jessie McClellan.
Most Reverend Chancellor, President MacDonald, Dr. Orbinski, honored guests, family, friends, and the graduates of the class of 2014. On behalf of the St. Francis Xavier University Alumni Association, a most heartfelt congratulations on your achievement. I am so pleased to welcome you into the Xaverian alumni family. As you leave here today, whether it be to continue your education or to pursue careers, remember you will be putting into practice the skills, knowledge, and values you've learned here. Take what you know to become leaders in your community. I'm always proud to say that our alumni network extends around the world. Many graduates who land in distant places keep the spirit of St. FX alive in their home and adopted countries. We are more than happy to help make that happen. As I travel to alumni events across Canada and beyond our borders, I often hear how proud our graduates are of the leadership and work of the Coady Institute graduates. I warmly welcome today's Coady graduates to the alumni family. You have sacrificed so much to learn on our campus, and we look forward to hearing about your continued work in improving the lives of others in the tradition of Dr. Moses Coady. This in part makes both Coady and St. FX graduates stand out. We are not content to work only for ourselves and our loved ones. We are committed to making a contribution to our communities, our society, and our world. Along your journey, you will meet fellow alumni doing the same thing. They are taking chances, trying new things, putting their knowledge and talents to work, and making a difference. As you embark on this new and exciting chapter in your lives, we encourage you and we pledge to support you along the way. You begin your role as a valued member of the Xaverian alumni family. Today, you become connected to an alumni network of over 43,000 St. FX graduates in Canada and around the world. You will also have many opportunities to share your story of St. FX and introduce others to the many benefits of the St. FX experience. As you leave campus and travel across Canada and around the globe, remember to look for the ring and make the connection. You are not alone. Hail and health to the class of 2014.
The Chancellor of the University, Most Reverend Brian Dunn, will close convocation and offer the benediction.
Special guests, graduates, and all who are connected with St. Francis Xavier University and Coady International Institute. First of all, congratulations to the graduates of 2014. Last week, we celebrated the feast of St. Francis Xavier, a man who lived in the 1600s and who had an intense desire to leave the comforts of his own life in France and go to India and Japan and China. He had a desire to move outside himself, to reach out to others with the gospel of Jesus Christ. As I reflect on the nature of a university, I believe that a similar movement is essential within a university. Students come to the university to be formed and trained, not to stay at the university, but to leave and move forward. The convocation is the celebration of graduates leaving the university, ready to move out into a new world, ready to reach out to others with skills and new outlooks. Today, our university honors Dr. James Orbinski, who is a humanitarian practitioner and who has spent his life reaching out to others. His humanitarian focus calls us to consider the human dignity of the other and gives him a readiness to reach out to others. He challenges us to move outside ourselves, to reach out to the other, not to gratify our needs, but for the sake of the other. He calls for a real culture of dialogue that is able to create a human solidarity, speaking in a way that can be heard and listening in a way that the other person knows they are heard. This movement outside ourselves calls us to recognize the achievements of all those who are ready to leave this university through convocation. It is a time to ponder all that is good in the world, a time to celebrate the light that dispels the darkness, a time to discern how we are called to bring that light which represents all that is good, noble, and true to all corners of the world and to all peoples. So today we celebrate academic and personal achievement and recognize this as a day when we are called to leave this university and to reach out to others in new ways. This day sets us forth into the world, gives us a mission, as it were. Equipped with the new knowledge and experience gained at StFX and at the Coady International Institute, your mission today awaits you. It is your time to continue to do good, using what you have gathered as part of the StFX Coady academic accomplishments and the StFX Coady life experience. While you are setting forth on your mission, a part of you will remain as part of the StFX and Coady community. Your presence on this community and this campus and your contributions to the life of StFX and to the Coady continue even after your absence. Your presence will be recalled in stories and stored in the institution's memory. Your presence will be celebrated as we watch your achievements continue throughout the world. May I also acknowledge and thank Dr. John Gaventa, who is also leaving this university. John, you have graciously shared your goodness with the StFX Coady community, and now you continue your international work in a new setting. Dr. Gaventa's presence and the many personal and academic gifts he shared with us will be added to the institutional fabric of the Coady International Institute and to the whole of StFX. Dr. Gaventa, you have added a luster of goodness and gentleness to our fabric, and we thank you for all that you have done and will continue to do as you reach out to others for the betterment of the world. Let me close by saying that goodness, presence, and mission are all words that are echoed through our StFX heritage. At this convocation, let us be grateful for the people who have assisted us in our transformation as we reach out to others in the world. Let us be grateful to our parents and families, our professors, our friends, and those who have provided essential support throughout our daily lives. Let us continue to be inspired by our time at StFX and Coady International Institute and by our newly acquired knowledge, skills, and friends. Let us dedicate ourselves to doing good, to acknowledge what is present, to being ready to reach out to others, and to respond to our mission to do good in the world. Let us pray. Generous God, you are the source of all gifts. You inspire every good work, and through you, we are given the strength and guidance to complete every task. In your wisdom and love, you surround us with the mysteries of the universe, and you give us all that we need to discover these wonders. You continually send people into our lives who assist us to discover your truth and to help us appreciate our relationship with you and with one another. Send your Spirit upon this year's graduates of St. Francis Xavier University and Coady International Institute. Fill them with your wisdom and blessing. Grant that as they graduate from this university, they may persevere and convey whatsoever things are true. May they reach out to others as they care for all creation and seek the reconciliation of all people in the midst of ever-growing diversity. Help them appreciate the dignity of each person as they seek to find a way to live together as one human family. Grant them gratitude for all who have supported them. Grant them a delight for all they have learned. Grant them a desire to share their knowledge with gentle patience. Give them the courage to endeavor to bring the truth to eager minds. We ask this blessing through our loving and merciful God, who shows us the way, the truth, and the life forever and ever. I now proclaim the closure of this 2014 Convocation of St. Francis Xavier University.
Members of the audience are asked to remain in their seats until the academic procession has left the hall. The platform party will leave first, followed by the faculty and graduates. You're all invited to join us upstairs for a reception. Thanks very much.